In this episode of Ask a Griffin, we talk about the 5 keys to improving the condition of your property. So point number 1 here is to make sure that you compare your property to solds. You see, many people look down the street and they look at who else is on the market and they say, oh, my house is better than that one. Right. Maybe so, but what you're probably looking at are active listings, and who says that those are priced right to begin with? Maybe everybody's chasing the market, or everybody has a belief that their property's worth more than it really is. But the one thing that can root you and anchor you back in reality is to take a look and compare your property to actual sold properties. Now, I don't want to open up a whole can of worms here with what a comparable market analysis should look like. I have some strong feelings about that one, but it should be deep and analytical, and you should be really comparing. But for average Joe or Jane who don't do this every day, the easiest thing to do is simply look at features. You might look at the location. That would be fine if it's in a radius close to you, but really look at the features, because buyers are going to walk through and value or disvalue your property versus another based on what features are available. So, for example, is there an upgraded kitchen? Are there upgraded bathrooms? Has it been freshly painted? Is the exterior clean? Those are the things that you look at in properties that sold, so you can make an honest comparison as to where yours stands today versus those successes. Remember, what you're studying there is success on the market. Point number 2 is to go in and identify your problems in advance. You see, it's important to take a real, full, honest inventory of the current condition of your property, but to take a hard look at the problems. What is wrong with my house, my property? If I were the buyer, what would I be critiquing when I walk through? That's really just like an inventory. Now, you could do this professionally. A lot of people ask us, should I go get an inspection? Whose responsibility is that inspection? Well, what we would say is, if you want to be super thorough, absolutely. Hire a home inspector who could come into your property prior to sale, and they'll go through as if a home inspector would for a buyer and take a full inventory of what you don't see. You see, when you go to sell a property, you really are not looking at the things that you've ignored while you've owned it. And some things you might not even be aware of that need maintenance. A lot of people never really study what they should have been doing along the way. So take that fresh inventory to identify the problems. I know you know what's right with your house, but what's wrong with it in advance will set you up to begin to improve condition. Remember, the reason for improving the condition of the property is because everybody wants more money. They want to gross and then subsequently net more money from the sale. That's why these steps are critical. So point number 3 is that you want to complete the low-cost projects. Okay? Those are the easiest ones to do. And low cost just simply means, what can you afford to do? What are you willing to spend now to improve the condition? So start with the lowest cost, the easiest ones. I could have put up here the sweat equity as well, the free. There's plenty of free projects that you can do yourself to clean and improve the condition of your property. But you want to complete the low cost. Any great handyman with a license can come in and help you fix all of those little things that you know need to be done. Not the least of which are things that are really important for the closing. For example, upgrading of smoke detectors, carbon monoxide. All of those things matter, and they will be questions from the buyer. So take care of them in advance of listing the property as well. Point number 4 is a little bit more complicated. To price out major upgrades. Let's say that again. You want to price out all of the major upgrades that your property still needs. Now, what this could mean is, a lot of times if somebody's been in a property a long time, the roof is in need of repairing. The windows are in need of replacing. The heating system is in need of replacing. And everybody says, oh my gosh, how can I afford to do all of that? Well, perhaps you can't. or you simply won't. But that doesn't mean you just try to hide them like it's a big lumpy rug. Those are issues that are going to come up and affect the market value of your property. So what you want to do is have them priced out by professionals. If you need a roof, have a professional roofer come over and give you an estimate in writing. Same for any of the other major items that the property needs. And most of these things are upgrades that really do in fact affect value. Let's consider a kitchen upgrade. You could spend a little bit of money on a kitchen upgrade or a massive amount. This is really in the eye of the beholder, right? Many people have a different idea of what a really nice kitchen upgrade is. So rather than do a major project that may or may not be correct, or you come in spending too little and somebody wants more, just have it priced out by a professional. Then what you do with that professional pricing is you have that available so that when your property is being shown, rather than have a buyer overestimate the cost, you have real numbers. In fact, those real numbers come to play during the negotiation. So again, why? Because it really does affect the final sale price. Now, the last one is probably the first one and most important one, and that is to professionally clean. Professionally clean your property inside and outside. See, a lot of people, when they're living through the course of the daily events, you just don't see how dirty a place actually gets. I mean, think about a brand new house after it's been professionally cleaned and it's sparkling. It's that same new car smell type of attitude with houses. So what you want to do is have a professional team come in and deep clean. They will clean things you didn't even know needed cleaning. And what that does, it creates a whole different sensation for the buyer when they come through physically. They can see it, they can enjoy the walkthrough. It's a very important part of the perception part of the sale. You see, again, value is in the eye of the beholder. In other words, if I'm the buyer looking at this place and oh, it's lemony fresh in here, isn't this great? All of a sudden I can begin to more easily see how I would live in here. You see, really, ultimately, it's not just the property in its condition, it's the lifestyle, the view for that buyer, for their lifestyle. You really want to make sure you understand that clean inside and outside. Let's talk about outside. Again, even if you're in the city, if you're selling a condominium, the way that somebody enters on that block of the city street, is it clean out front? Is there garbage all over the place? Don't ignore it. Go out and clean it yourself. I know it's probably somebody else's responsibility, but from the minute that person hits the front door, they're thinking, I would have to walk through all of this. What's my experience? I walk into a lobby. Now, obviously, if it's a rural property or outside of the city in the suburbs, boy, curb appeal is everything. Somebody drives by and they take a look at that yard. Now, I'm not saying you have to go out and go crazy on the yard, but look, if you can do it yourself, wonderful. But if not, we always recommend hire a professional to come out there, give you some fresh edges on the beds where the flowers would be, even if they're not there. Put some fresh mulch in and paint the outside of the house, even if you just can hit the chips. That's what professional cleaning inside and out is all about. So, in summary here, why this is important is because improving the condition of your property and being properly prepared to deal with those conditional issues that exist is going to affect your final sale price one way or another. So let's summarize. You want to compare your property to other properties that have sold. Look at success. Don't look at what everybody's delusion may be about where the market is. Look at those that have listened to the market and been successful and what features they had. And be honest, you either have those features or you don't. Number two, identify your problems in advance. Just tackle them. It's not a big deal because we have a solution for them. You want to understand those problems because then point number three, that's where you really start. You start with the lowest cost or the ones that you can do yourself and just get those off of the list. A long list of problems, okay, is worse than a short list of problems, which leaves the big ones. Point number four, you want to price out those major problems or upgrades or changes that are needed in advance with professionals. Invite the professionals over for a free estimate. Tell them the situation. Tell them that you will be presenting these to the buyer, and in fact, you'll introduce them to the buyer and the buyer's agent once things move along. But you want to price out those major upgrades, really more importantly, so that it is not overestimated by the buyer, or somebody doesn't beat you up in negotiation over the true cost of major upgrades. And finally, please professionally clean your property inside and outside to the best of your ability. Whatever it is that you can do, whatever it is that you can afford, this is the one thing that will change the perception in the mind's eye of the buyer, who will say, my goodness, this property owner really does care and takes good care of this place. I know they might need some major upgrades, but they seem to really care about it. All of this will affect your value. So if you know somebody who's going out to sell their property, share this list along with them. And by the way, even if you're not close to selling your property yet, start to consider these things and get way out in front of this. Hey, if you like these episodes, we'd appreciate it if you share them along to somebody who could use them. Thanks. We'll see you next time.